The transport shuttle doors opened with a hiss, and Hana stepped onto the Twilight Nexus station for the first time. Heat hit her face like a wall. She had read the briefing files, knew the station maintained temperatures that most predator species preferred, but reading about 95 degrees was different from standing in it. Her uniform already felt too thick. Sweat began forming on her forehead. She picked up her bags and walked down the ramp into the docking bay. The welcoming committee stood waiting. Hana had seen pictures of Rexians before, but pictures did not prepare her for the reality. Commander Kavi stood nearly 8 feet tall, his obsidian scales catching the station lights. His eyes were golden with vertical slits for pupils. Behind him stood several other aliens, each looking like they could tear through steel with their bare hands. Hana straightened her back and walked forward. She was a xenobiologist. She had trained for this. She would not show fear. "Commander Kavi," she said, extending her hand in the human greeting. "I'm Hana. Thank you for accepting me on your station." Kavi looked at her hand for a long moment. His clawed fingers moved slowly, carefully, as if he was afraid to touch her. When he finally shook her hand, his grip was so gentle, it barely qualified as contact. "Welcome to Twilight Nexus," Kavi said. His voice was deep, rumbling like distant thunder. "We are honored to host the first human on our station." The other aliens behind him nodded. A 4-armed crystalline being stepped forward. Her body looked like it was made of blue glass, sharp and angular. "I am Talus," she said. "Chief Medical Officer. I have prepared extensive safety protocols for your stay." "Safety protocols?" Hana asked. "Yes. Your species requires very specific environmental conditions. I have studied the galactic database thoroughly." Talus gestured with 2 of her arms. "Your quarters have been modified to maintain optimal temperature. The gravity has been reduced in your section. I have also prepared a specialized nutrition plan." Hana wanted to say that she would be fine with regular station conditions, but the earnest concern in Talus's voice stopped her. These people had clearly worked hard to make her comfortable. "Thank you," Hana said instead. "I appreciate your efforts." A younger Vrexian, smaller than Kavi but still towering over Hana, stepped forward. His scales were a lighter gray, and his movements had an eager energy to them. "I am Rin," he said. "Security escort? To ensure your safety," Rin explained. "The station has many hazards that could harm you." Before Hana could respond, a small creature darted forward. It looked like a miniature version of Talus, barely 4 feet tall, with silvery crystalline skin instead of blue. "I am Nira," the small one said quickly. "I help with engineering. I have calculated the optimal walking routes for you that avoid all high-gravity sections and temperature fluctuations and areas with sharp corners." Hana blinked. "Sharp corners? Your skin is very thin," Nira said seriously. "The database says humans can suffer lacerations from minimal contact with hard surfaces." Hana opened her mouth to correct this, then closed it. She looked around at the assembled aliens, all watching her with intense focus. Their eyes tracked her every movement. She could feel their tension, as if they expected her to collapse at any moment. This was going to be more complicated than she thought. Kavi led her through the station corridors. Hana noticed that he walked very slowly, matching her pace. Other aliens they passed in the hallways immediately moved to the sides, pressing themselves against the walls to give her maximum space. "Is it always this hot?" Hana asked, wiping sweat from her forehead. Every alien in the corridor froze. Kavi turned to her, his eyes wide. "Too hot?" "Talus. Immediate environmental adjustment." Kavi barked into his communication device. No, Hana said quickly. "I was just asking. I will adjust." "It's fine." But Talus was already responding. "Reducing temperature in human Hana's patrol route by 5 degrees. Increasing air circulation. Should I prepare cooling packs?" "I'm fine," Hana insisted. "Really? Please don't change anything." Kavi looked unconvinced, but he nodded slowly. They continued walking. Rin followed 3 steps behind Hana. his hand resting on what looked like a medical kit attached to his belt. Nira scurried alongside, occasionally checking a datapad and making small, concerned noises. Hana's quarters were larger than she expected. The temperature inside was noticeably cooler, maybe 70 degrees. The gravity felt lighter, too, easier on her legs. A small kitchen area had been stocked with packages labeled in human languages. "This is wonderful," Hana said, and she meant it. "Thank you all," she smiled at them. Every alien in the room immediately tensed. Rin's hand went to his weapon. Nira made a high-pitched sound and ducked behind Talus. Even Kavi took a step back, his body shifting into what looked like a defensive posture. Hana's smile vanished. "What? What's wrong?" Silence stretched for several seconds. Finally, Talus spoke carefully. "You showed your teeth." Low. "I was smiling," Hana said. "Showing teeth is a threat display for most species," Kavi explained. His posture relaxed slightly, but his eyes remained alert. "We were not aware humans use this gesture differently." Hana felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to frighten anyone. Humans smile when we're happy or pleased. It's friendly." Nira peeked out from behind Talus. "So you are not challenging us to combat?" "No," Hana said, fighting the urge to smile again at the absurdity of the question. "Not at all. I was expressing gratitude." The aliens exchanged glances. Rin slowly removed his hand from his weapon. Kavi made a note on his datapad. "We will add this to the human behavior database," Kavi said. "Teeth display equals pleasure, not aggression." The first few days passed in a blur of misunderstandings and overcorrections. Hana tried to go to the station cafeteria, and 3 different aliens offered to carry her tray. When she insisted she could manage, they followed her to a table and watched her eat with such intensity that she lost her appetite. She attempted to explore the research laboratories, but Nira had apparently locked out several sections because they were deemed too dangerous for human physiology. Hana spent an hour arguing with the security system before giving up. The younger aliens, the ones Kavi called cubs even though some of them were nearly adult-sized, began following her everywhere. At first it was just Rin and Nira. Then, others joined. A group of 5 or 6 young predators started showing up wherever Hana went. They watched her constantly. When she picked up a datapad, they leaned in to see what she was reading. When she walked, they adjusted their pace to match hers exactly. When she sat down, they sat down. It was like having a pack of very large, very dangerous puppies. On her 4th day on the station, Hana attended her first staff meeting. The conference room was full of senior officers from various species. Hana took a seat near the back, trying to be unobtrusive. Rin immediately sat next to her. Nira sat on her other side. 3 other cubs positioned themselves behind her chair. Kavi began the meeting, discussing supply schedules and maintenance reports. The room was very dry, the air recycled and filtered. Hana felt her nose tickle. She tried to suppress it, but the tickle grew stronger. She sneezed. It was not even a particularly loud sneeze. Just a quick achoo that she barely had time to cover with her hand. The reaction was instantaneous. Rin jumped to his feet, knocking his chair backward. "Medical emergency!" Nira's eyes went wide. She tapped frantically on her datapad. "Initiating emergency protocols." Talus was already running toward Hana, her forearms reaching for medical scanners. Kavi slammed his hand on the conference table. "All personnel. Code 7. Human, in distress." "What? No." Rin had disappeared from the room. He returned 15 seconds later, carrying an armful of thermal blankets. He began wrapping them around Hana, despite her protests. "I'm fine." Hana tried to stand, but Nira was pushing a warm beverage into her hands. "Drink this," Nira insisted. "It will help with the respiratory distress." "I don't have respiratory distress. I just sneezed." More cubs poured into the conference room, each carrying something. Blankets, Heating pads, cushions, more beverages. Within 2 minutes, Hana was buried under a pile of comfort items, completely unable to move. Talus ran a scanner over her. Temperature elevated. Respiration increased. Possible infection. "I'm not infected," Hana said, her voice muffled by blankets. "Humans sneeze sometimes. It's normal. It's just a reflex." Kavi loomed over the pile of blankets, his expression grave. "The database indicates that respiratory expulsion events signal serious illness in humans." "The database is wrong," Hana said. "The database is compiled from first contact reports," Talus said. "The information is verified." Roop. Hana managed to extract one arm from the blanket pile. She pushed enough of them aside to see the worried faces surrounding her. Every alien in the room looked genuinely concerned. The cubs especially seemed distressed, their eyes wide, their bodies tense. She took a deep breath. "I promise you, I am completely healthy. Sneezing is just something humans do. It happens when our noses are irritated by dust, or dry air, or allergies. It doesn't mean I'm dying. But the blankets help, yes?" Rin asked hopefully. "You feel better? With the blankets?" Hana looked at his earnest expression. She looked at Nira, who was clutching a heating pad like a security blanket. She looked at all the cubs who had rushed to help her, who had dropped everything to make sure she was safe. "Yes," Hana said gently. "The blankets help. Thank you." The relief in the room was palpable. The cubs visibly relaxed. Rin's tail, which Hana had not realized was twitching anxiously, stilled. Kavi nodded. "Good. We will maintain blanket readiness protocols for future respiratory events." Hana settled back into her nest of blankets, realizing she had just accidentally created a new station tradition. She was going to have a long talk with someone about that galactic database, but looking at the concerned, caring faces around her, she thought maybe it could wait until tomorrow. The next morning, Hana woke up determined to fix the misunderstanding. She could not spend her entire assignment wrapped in blankets every time she sneezed. The station's dry air would make that a daily occurrence. She found Talus in the medical bay, reviewing data on multiple screens at once with her 4 arms. "Talus, we need to talk about the galactic database," Hana said. Talus looked up from her work. "Is something incorrect?" "Yes, very incorrect." "Can you show me what it says about humans?" Talus pulled up the file on a large display screen. Hana read through it, her disbelief growing with each line. Species, human. Classification, fragile. Environmental tolerance, extremely limited. Optimal temperature range, 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Deviation results in system failure and potential death. Hana stared. That's not true. Humans can survive in much wider temperature ranges. She kept reading. Respiratory system, highly sensitive. Frequent expulsion events indicate pathogenic invasion or system breakdown. Requires immediate medical intervention. Also not true, Hana muttered. Structural integrity, minimal. Skin thickness, insufficient to prevent damage from standard environmental hazards. Gravity tolerance, limited. Bone density low, susceptible to fractures from minor impacts. Hana rubbed her temples. Where did this information come from? Talus gestured at the screen. First contact reports. Human ambassadors provided detailed information about their requirements when establishing diplomatic relations. Can you show me those reports? Talus pulled up another file. Hana read through the diplomatic requests from early human ambassadors. They had asked for climate-controlled environments. They had requested reduced gravity in their quarters for comfort. They had mentioned that humans preferred certain temperature ranges and had dietary restrictions. These were preferences, Hana said, not requirements. The ambassadors were asking for things that would make them comfortable, not things they needed to survive. Talus cocked her head, her crystalline features reflecting the light. The distinction is not clear in the reports. I can see that. Hana scrolled through more entries. But look at this. It says humans need to eat every 4 hours or they will die. That's completely wrong. Humans can go days without food if necessary. We don't like it, but we won't die. The database also indicates humans require constant protection from psychological stressors. Talus read. Loud noises, sudden movements, or aggressive displays can cause permanent mental damage. That's not accurate either. Humans can be startled, yes, but we don't suffer permanent damage from being surprised. Hana paused. Well, unless it causes a heart attack, but that's rare, and usually only in already sick or elderly individuals. Talus made a note. So, humans can experience sudden cardiac failure from environmental stressors? Talus? Trash. Talus? 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 Talus made a note from No. I mean, technically yes, but it's not common. Most humans are fine with loud noises and surprises. Hana realized she was making things worse. Can I just rewrite this entire section? The database is maintained by the Galactic Coalition Medical Council, Talus said. Changes require substantial evidence and peer review. Hana sighed. How long does that take? Several months, minimum. Possibly years for a complete species reclassification. Years? Hana slumped into a chair. I can't spend years being treated like I'm made of glass. Talus sat down across from her, folding her forearms in a gesture that might have been concern. You are frustrated. Yes, everyone here is very kind, but also very wrong about what humans need. Hana met Talus's eyes. I appreciate that you all want to keep me safe, but I need you to understand that humans are tougher than you think. The evidence suggests otherwise, Talus said gently. Then I need to provide new evidence. Hana stood up. I want to teach a class. For the cubs who keep following me around, I'll explain actual human biology, answer their questions, show them what humans are really capable of. Talus considered this. Commander Kavi would need to approve any educational programming. Then let's ask him. Kavi approved the class, though he insisted that Talus be present for all sessions in case of medical emergency. Hana agreed. Small victories. The first session was held in one of the station's meeting rooms. Hana had expected maybe 5 or 6 cubs. 23 showed up. RPDO. Or 17. 73. They filled the room, sitting on the floor when the chairs ran out. Rin sat in the front row, his datapad ready. Nira was next to him, practically vibrating with excitement. Behind them sat Vrexians, Skeleths, and several other species Hana had not yet learned the names of. All of them watched her, with intense focus. Hello, everyone. Hana began. Thank you for coming. Today I want to talk about human biology and clear up some misconceptions. Every cub leaned forward. First, let's talk about temperature. The database says humans can only survive in a very narrow temperature range. This is false. Hana pulled up a chart on the display screen. Humans evolved on a planet with diverse climates. We have lived in deserts where temperatures exceed 120 degrees. We have lived in Arctic regions where temperatures drop below -40 degrees. Murmurs spread through the room. Nira's hand shot up. Yes, Nira. But humans die from temperature exposure, Nira said. This is documented. Yes, at extreme temperatures, without proper protection, humans can die. So can most species. Hana advanced to the next slide. But our tolerance range is much wider than the database suggests. I'm uncomfortable right now, because this station is warm. But I'm not dying. I'm just sweating, which is how humans cool themselves. She showed them a diagram of human skin and sweat glands. The cubs took notes, frantically. Next, sneezing. When I sneezed yesterday, everyone panicked. But sneezing is a normal reflex. Hana explained how human respiratory systems worked, how they filtered air, how sneezing expelled irritants. It tickles my nose. That's all. Rin raised his hand. But the database says Respiratory expulsion events indicate serious illness. Sometimes, yes. If a human is sick with a cold or flu, they might sneeze more. But healthy humans also sneeze from dust, pollen, bright lights, or dry air. It's just a reflex. Like blinking. The cubs exchanged glances. Hana could see them processing this information, comparing it to what they had believed. She spent the next hour going through the database entry point by point. She explained human bone structure, how bones were strong enough to support their body weight in various gravity conditions. She discussed human healing, how cuts and bruises repaired themselves over time. She talked about human dietary needs, their ability to eat a wide variety of foods and go extended periods without eating if necessary. By the end, the cubs looked overwhelmed but fascinated. Questions? Hana asked. Every hand in the room went up. She pointed to a small Vrexian in the back. Yes? Is it true humans are persistence predators? Hana blinked. Where did you hear that? I researched human evolution, the cub said. It says, humans used to hunt by chasing prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. That's actually true, Hana admitted. Early humans were not the fastest runners, but they could run for hours. They would chase animals in the heat of the day until the animals overheated and could not run anymore. The room went silent. Every cub stared at her. Humans are predators? Nira asked in a small voice. We're predators, Hana corrected. We're omnivores now. We eat plants and meat. But yes, humans evolved as hunters. Rin looked down at his claws, then at Hana's small hands. But you have no natural weapons. We used tools, spears, arrows, traps. Humans are very good at making weapons. Hana realized this might not be helping her case. But modern humans don't hunt like that anymore. We have farms and food production facilities. Another hand went up. Is it true human bones heal themselves? Yes. If a human breaks a bone, it will grow back together over several weeks. The bone often becomes stronger at the break point. More stunned silence. And humans can survive injuries that would kill other species? Hana hesitated. Sometimes. Human bodies are good at adapting to damage. We have redundant systems. We can survive with only one kidney, one lung, partial liver function, our blood clots to seal wounds. Our immune systems fight infections. But we're not invincible. Humans can definitely be killed. She was trying to sound reassuring, but the cubs looked more alarmed than comforted. So humans are secretly tough predators pretending to be fragile? Nira asked. No, Hana said firmly. Humans are not secretly anything. We're just different from what the database says. We're not as fragile as you think, but we're also not invincible. We're just normal people trying to get along in the galaxy. The cubs did not look convinced. After the class, Hana returned to her quarters exhausted. She had tried to make things better, but she worried she had made them worse. Now the cubs probably thought she was some kind of undercover predator. She was reviewing her notes when her door chimed. She opened it to find Rin standing there, looking uncomfortable. Can I help you? Hana asked. I wanted to apologize, Rin said, for treating you like you were weak. You are clearly not weak. I'm not weak, but I'm also not superhuman, Hana said. I'm just regular human. Rin nodded slowly. I understand. But I would still like to continue as your security escort, if you will allow it. Why? Hana asked gently. Rin was quiet for a moment. My parents died when I was young. Uncle Kavi raised me, but he is always busy with command duties. When you arrived, taking care of you gave me purpose. I felt useful. Hana's heart ached. Oh, Rin, I know you do not need protection like I thought, Rin continued. But I would still like to help you. If you will let me. Hana smiled, then remembered, and stopped showing her teeth. I would like that very much. And Rin, You can be useful without me being helpless. We can help each other. Rin's expression brightened. Yes, we help each other. After he left, Hana sat down and updated her personal log. The situation was complicated, but she was starting to understand. The cubs were not just following protocol, they were looking for connection, for purpose, for family. She could work with that. She sneezed, and immediately heard running footsteps in the corridor outside. Her door chimed. She opened it to find Nira holding a single blanket. Just in case, Nira said shyly. Hana took the blanket. Thank you, Nira. That's very kind. Nira beamed and scurried away. Hana wrapped the blanket around her shoulders. It was actually nice. The station's recycled air was giving her chills. Maybe the cubs were not entirely wrong about everything. Hana decided that if words would not convince the station she was not fragile, actions would have to do the job instead. She would show them what humans could actually do. The station gymnasium was designed for species that could bench press small vehicles. The equipment was massive, built to handle Vrexian strength and Skeleth endurance. Hana stood in the doorway, looking at machines that seemed designed for giants. Are you certain about this? Talus asked. She had insisted on accompanying Hana, medical kit in hand. I'm certain, Hana said. I need to exercise. Humans need regular physical activity to stay healthy. The database does not mention this requirement. Add it to the list of corrections, Hana muttered. She walked to the exercise area. Several aliens were using the equipment, lifting weights that probably weighed more than Hana's entire body. They stopped when they saw her, watching with curiosity. Hana found a clear space on the floor and started stretching. Her muscles were tight from days of careful, slow movement around the station. It felt good to move freely. She began with simple exercises, jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups. Within 30 seconds, alarms started blaring. Medical emergency, someone shouted. The human is having seizures. I'm not having seizures, Hana called out, but she was drowned out by the sound of running feet. Rin burst into the gym, medical scanner in hand. Nira was right behind him, carrying what looked like a portable medical bed. What are you doing? Rin demanded, running the scanner over Hana. Exercise, Hana said, not stopping her push-ups. Humans need to exercise regularly. But you are on the ground, Nira said. You fell down. No, I'm doing push-ups. It's an exercise. I'm lowering my body and raising it using my arms. See? Hana demonstrated. More cubs had gathered. They watched her movements with expressions of horror and fascination. Your heart rate is elevated, Rin said, staring at the scanner. Your temperature is rising. Your respiration is rapid. Yes, that happens during exercise. It's normal. Talus stepped forward, her forearms crossed. This seems unnecessarily stressful for your body. Hana stood up and wiped sweat from her forehead. Exercise is good for humans. It makes us stronger, keeps our hearts healthy, helps us sleep better. We evolved to move. Our bodies need it. The assembled aliens did not look convinced. I'm going to run now, Hana announced. Run? Nira squeaked. From what? What is the danger? I'm not running from anything. Hana started jogging in place, then began running laps around the gymnasium. Behind her, she could hear confused chatter. Why is she fleeing if there is no danger? Perhaps she senses something we cannot? Should we evacuate? Hana kept running. Her lungs burned pleasantly. Her legs remembered the rhythm. She had missed this. Back on Earth, she ran every morning. Here, she had been so careful, so cautious, moving slowly so as not to alarm anyone. She ran for 15 minutes, feeling her body wake up, her blood pumping. When she finally stopped, she was breathing hard and covered in sweat. She felt wonderful. The cubs looked traumatized. You are leaking fluids, one of them said. Sweat. It's how humans cool down. I told you this in class, but there is so much of it. Hana laughed, then saw them tense and stopped. I'm fine. Better than fine. I feel great. Talus scanned her again. Your vital signs are returning to baseline. No apparent damage. Told you. But the medical team arrived anyway, summoned by the earlier alarms. They surrounded Hana, checking her thoroughly. She submitted to the examination with tired patience. The next day, Hana requested permission to access the station's weight training equipment. Permission was granted, but only with supervision. A medical team, a security team, and approximately 15 cubs who wanted to watch. Hana approached the smallest weight bar she could find. It was still far heavier than what she would use on Earth, but she could manage it. She lifted it carefully, testing her strength. The weight was challenging but doable. She began doing controlled lifts. Feeling her muscles work. She is lifting the bar, someone whispered. But she is so small. How is this possible? Hana completed her set and carefully placed the bar back on its rack. She turned to find every cub staring at her with wide eyes. Humans have good strength relative to our size, Hana explained. We're not as strong as Vrexians or Skeleths, but we're not helpless. Rin stepped forward. Can you teach us? Teach you what? Human exercises. I want to learn how humans train. Other cubs nodded eagerly. Hana looked at their hopeful faces and could not refuse. She spent the next hour teaching basic human exercises to a group of alien predators. It was one of the strangest experiences of her life. The cubs tried to copy her movements, their powerful bodies awkward in the unfamiliar poses. Nira could not do a push-up. Her crystalline arms were not designed for that movement. But she managed a plank position, her body rigid with determination. Rin excelled at running, his Vrexian legs eating up distance. But sit-ups confused him. His body structure was different. His core muscles arranged in ways that made the movement strange. They laughed together, trying and failing and trying again. For the first time since arriving on the station, Hana felt like she was connecting with them as equals, rather than as a fragile thing to be protected. Then the emergency happened. Hana was in Section 7 of the station, collecting samples from the xenobiology lab. The work was routine, peaceful. She was cataloging specimens when the alarm sounded. Hull breach, Section 7. All personnel, evacuate immediately. Hana's training kicked in instantly. She secured the specimens in their containment fields and headed for the door. The corridor was already filling with smoke from somewhere. She could hear the hiss of escaping air. Her communicator crackled. Hana, this is Commander Kavi. Evacuate immediately. Emergency teams are en route. Understood, Hana said. But as she moved toward the exit, she saw the problem. The emergency bulkhead was failing. It should have sealed automatically, but something was wrong. The metal was buckling, the seal incomplete. Air was rushing out through the gap, and the pressure difference was growing. There was a manual override panel, but it was behind the bulkhead, accessible only through a small maintenance shaft. Too small for Vrexians or Skeleths, but not too small for a human. Hana made a decision. She ran toward the breach instead of away from it. Hana, what are you doing? Kavi's voice was sharp with alarm. I can see your location. You are moving toward the breach. Nanti, the bulkhead is not sealing properly. I can reach the manual override. Negative. Evacuate now. That is an order. If I don't seal it, this whole section will decompress, Hana said. She was already pulling the maintenance shaft cover off. She did not wait for permission. She crawled into the shaft, pulling herself forward with her arms. The space was tight, the metal cold against her skin. She could feel the pull of escaping air, hear the groan of stressed metal. Behind her, she could hear shouting, running feet. The emergency teams were arriving. She reached the panel and yanked it open. The manual override was a simple mechanism, designed for emergency use. Hana grabbed the lever and pulled. Nothing happened. She pulled harder, using her full body weight. The lever resisted, stuck from disuse or damage. Air pressure made it difficult to breathe. Her lungs ached. Come on, she hissed, and pulled with everything she had. The lever moved. Slowly, fighting her, but it moved. The bulkhead shuddered and began to close properly. The gap narrowed. The rushing air slowed. Seal confirmed. Someone said over the communicator. Section 7 is secure. Hana let go of the lever and tried to back out of the maintenance shaft. Her hands were shaking. She had scraped her shoulder on the metal, torn her uniform. Her palms were bleeding from the rough lever. She emerged from the shaft to find Kavi standing there, his expression unreadable. Behind him stood Rin, Nira, Talus, and what looked like every cub on the station. You disobeyed a direct order, Kavi said. Yes, sir, Hana said. I apologize, but the section would have lost pressure if someone didn't seal the bulkhead. You could have been killed. Yes, sir, but I wasn't. Kavi stared at her for a long moment. Then, to her surprise, he placed one clawed hand, very gently, on her uninjured shoulder. That was very brave, and very foolish. Sorry, sir. Don't apologize for saving lives. Apologize for making me fear for yours. Sorry, sir, Hana repeated, meaning it this time. Talus immediately began treating her injuries. The scrapes were minor. The bruises would heal. Nothing serious. But the cubs looked devastated. They followed her to the medical bay, silent and worried. When Talus finished bandaging Hana's hands, Rin stepped forward. I should have been faster, he said. I should have protected you. You couldn't have reached the override, Hana said. You're too big. This was something only a small person could do. But you were hurt. A little. I'll be fine. Nira was crying, her crystalline eyes somehow producing liquid tears. We were supposed to keep you safe. Hana felt her heart break a little. She reached out carefully and touched Nira's shoulder. You keep me safe every day. But sometimes, I need to help too. That's what families do. They take care of each other. Families? Nira whispered. Yes. That's what we are, aren't we? A strange, mismatched family. The cubs looked at each other, then at Hana. Slowly, carefully, Rin moved forward and wrapped his arms around her in an awkward hug. Then, Nira joined. Then, the others. Hana found herself in the center of a group hug, surrounded by young predators who were trying very hard not to squeeze too tight. She sneezed. Immediately, 20 cubs scattered to fetch blankets. Hana started laughing. She could not help it. Within 2 minutes, she was buried in blankets again, the cubs piling them on with determined care. Just one blanket, she tried to say. We agreed on one blanket. You were injured, Rin said seriously. Injury requires extra blankets. It is protocol. Since when? Since now. Hana gave up and accepted her fate as the station's blanket collection point. Later, alone in her quarters, she looked at her bandaged hands. The database was wrong about humans being fragile. But maybe it was not entirely wrong about humans needing care. She just needed to teach the cubs the difference between careful and overprotective. She sneezed again and heard running footsteps in the corridor. This might take a while. Hana woke up slowly, feeling warmth all around her. She tried to move and discovered she could not. Something heavy pressed down on her from all sides. She opened her eyes and saw only fabric. Blankets. So many blankets that she could not see anything else. Hello? She called out, her voice muffled. No response. She tried to push the blankets off, but they were piled too high, too heavy. She was trapped in a cocoon of soft fabric. Help! Hana shouted, louder this time. Footsteps rushed to her door. It opened with a hiss. Hana? Rin's voice came from somewhere above the blanket pile. Are you in there? Yes. I can't move. There are too many blankets. Oh. A pause. We may have overdone the blanket protocol. You think? It took Rin and 3 other cubs 15 minutes to excavate Hana from the blanket mountain. When she finally emerged, blinking in the light, she counted the blankets as they were removed. 217 blankets. How? Hana demanded. Where did you even find this many blankets? Nira looked down at her feet. We replicated more. When you sneezed yesterday evening, We wanted to make sure you had enough comfort materials. I sneezed once. Yes. But you also had injuries from the hull breach. The combination required maximum care. Hana sat on the edge of her bed, which was now visible for the first time in hours. We need to talk about the blanket situation. The cubs who had gathered in her quarters all looked worried. No more blankets? Rin asked sadly. Not, no more blankets. Just fewer blankets. A reasonable number of blankets. Hana held up one finger. 1 blanket per sneeze, unless I specifically ask for more. Agreed? The cubs exchanged glances. They did not look happy about this rule. What if you are cold? Nira asked. Then I will ask for a blanket. What if you are injured? Then I will ask for medical care, and maybe 1 blanket. What if you are cold and injured, and you sneeze? Hana sighed. Then you can bring 2 blankets. But that is the maximum. 2 blankets is the absolute limit. The cubs reluctantly agreed. Hana did not entirely believe they would follow this rule. But it was better than waking up buried alive. She made her way to the cafeteria for breakfast. The station was fully repaired after yesterday's hull breach. Life had returned to normal, or what passed for normal on Twilight Nexus. Kavi was waiting for her in the cafeteria. We need to discuss yesterday's incident. Hana's stomach sank. Am I in trouble? No. I am required to file a report with the Galactic Coalition about the hull breach. I will be noting in that report that you acted with courage and saved lives. Kavi paused. I will also be requesting a formal commendation for you. Oh, thank you, sir. But I have another matter to discuss. The cubs. Kavi gestured to where Rin, Nira, and others sat eating breakfast. All of them watching Hana. They have become very attached to you. I've noticed. This is good for them. Many of them are orphans, or separated from their original packs and hives. They have formed a new family unit here, with you at the center. Kavi's golden eyes studied her. But I worry they are becoming too dependent on protecting you. I'm trying to show them, I don't need constant protection. I know. And yesterday you demonstrated that effectively. Kavi sat down, his large frame making the chair look small. But cubs need purpose. They need to feel useful. Taking care of you gives them that. I do not want to take it away from them, but I also do not want them to smother you with excessive care. End quote. The Ren Tunit. We're ministin with Axis. End quote. Hana thought about this. What if we redirect their protective instincts? Give them other responsibilities? What do you suggest? An idea was forming in Hana's mind. What if I teach them more about humans? Not just biology, but culture, communication, cooperation. Make it an official training program. Then they're learning, instead of just worrying. Kavi considered this human-predator relations training. This could be valuable. We will have more humans on the station eventually, as cultural exchange programs expand. Cubs, trained in human interaction, could help welcome them. Exactly. I approve this program. You will have official authority to train cubs in human relations. Kavi stood. But Hana, understand something. The cubs care about you. That will not change with training. They have chosen you as their pack leader. I'm not a Vrexian. I can't be a pack leader. Packs are not defined by species. They are defined by loyalty and care. You have their loyalty. Whether you intended to or not, you have become important to them. After Kavi left, Hana sat with her breakfast, thinking. She had come to this station to study xenobiology, to do research. To advance her career, she had not planned to become a parental figure to 24 alien cubs. But life rarely went according to plan. She established the training program that afternoon. The cubs gathered in the largest conference room available, eager and attentive. Today we're going to talk about human culture, Hana began. Specifically, how humans communicate emotions and needs. She pulled up images on the display screen. Pictures of humans showing different facial expressions. This is happy. A smiling face. This is sad. A crying face. This is angry. This is scared. This is surprised. The cubs studied the images intensely. Humans have very expressive faces, Hana explained. We can communicate a lot without words, just through our expressions. This is different from many species who rely more on body language or scent or other signals. Nira raised her hand. When you smile, you are happy. We learned this. But when you laugh, what does that mean? Laughter usually means something is funny or joyful. But humans also sometimes laugh when we're nervous or uncomfortable. How do we tell the difference? Context. You have to pay attention to the situation and other signals. Hana demonstrated different types of laughter. Genuine laughter. From her belly. Nervous laughter that sounded higher and more strained. See the difference? The cubs practiced making human facial expressions. It was bizarre and hilarious. Vrexians could not smile the way humans did. Their faces were not built for it, but they tried, baring their teeth in expressions that looked more threatening than friendly. Skeleth faces were rigid, crystalline, unable to move much at all. But they could change the color of their skin slightly, to indicate emotion. This is very difficult, Rin said, after attempting to smile for the 5th time. Your faces are complicated to me too, Hannah said. I'm still learning how to read Vrexian body language. And Skeleth color changes. We're all learning together. She moved on to verbal communication. How humans use tone and volume to convey meaning. How the same words could mean different things depending on how they were said. If I say that's great in a happy voice, it means I'm pleased. If I say that's great in a sarcastic voice, it means the opposite. I'm actually unhappy. Every cub in the room looked confused. Why would you say the opposite of what you mean? Nira asked. Sarcasm is complicated. It's a form of humor or criticism. Humans use it a lot. But it's hard to detect if you're not used to it. Teaching continued for 2 hours. By the end, the cubs were exhausted, but excited. They had learned about human holidays, human family structures, human ethics, and human humor. They had practiced human greetings and polite phrases. Next session, I want you all to teach me about your cultures, Hana said. I need to learn too. This is not just about you understanding humans. It's about all of us understanding each other. The cubs liked this idea. Over the following weeks, the training sessions became the highlight of Hana's schedule. She learned about Vrexian pack hierarchies and honor codes. She learned about Skeleth hive minds and consensus decision-making. She learned about species she had never encountered before, their customs and values, and ways of seeing the universe. The cubs learned about human stubbornness and human creativity and human tendency to find solutions that no one else had considered. They also continued bringing blankets when she sneezed, but they limited themselves to 2 blankets maximum. Usually, sometimes 3, if they felt the sneeze was particularly concerning. Hana stopped fighting it. The blankets were soft, and the gesture was kind. There were worse problems to have than being cared for too much. One evening, she was in her quarters reading reports when Rin appeared at her door. Can I ask you something personal? He said. Of course. Why did you come here? To this station. You could have stayed on Earth, where everything is designed for humans, where you would not have to work so hard to fit in. And Ifeston, Hana set down her datapad. I came because I wanted to learn about other species. I wanted to understand the galaxy beyond Earth. And maybe, because I was looking for something. What were you looking for? I don't know. Purpose? Connection? A place where I mattered? Hana smiled. I didn't expect to find it here. I thought I would be an outsider. Tolerated, but not really included. Instead, I found you all. A family I didn't know I needed. Rin sat down on the floor near her chair. I think we were all looking for the same thing. The cubs here. We don't have packs or hives or families in the traditional sense. We were alone. Then you arrived and gave us something to care about. Someone who needed us. I'm not sure I needed you at first, Hana admitted. But I need you now. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Hana sneezed. Rin immediately reached behind him and produced a blanket that he had apparently been carrying this entire time, just in case. Hana accepted it with a laugh. You planned this. I am always prepared for respiratory events, Rin said seriously. It is my duty. I am 9. Your duty is to be my friend. The blankets are optional. The blankets are never optional. Hana wrapped the blanket around her shoulders. It was warm and soft and smelled faintly of the lavender scent she preferred. Someone had added it specially. These cubs were going to spoil her completely, and she was going to let them. The diplomatic shuttle arrived without warning. Hana was in the middle of teaching a lesson about human literature when Kavi's voice came over the station intercom. All personnel, we have a Galactic Coalition envoy arriving in 30 minutes. Standard diplomatic protocols apply. The cubs immediately began preparing. They had learned about diplomatic visits in their training. Hana watched them organize themselves with pride. They were becoming skilled at intercultural communication. The envoy turned out to be human. Hana stood in the docking bay with Kavi and the senior staff, watching the shuttle door open. A man in formal diplomatic attire stepped out, his suit perfectly pressed, his expression professional and slightly distant. I am Doyun, he said, offering handshakes to the assembled group. Human ambassador to the Galactic Coalition. I'm here to evaluate the human integration program on this station. Kavi introduced his staff. When he got to Hana, Doyun's expression shifted slightly. Dr. Hana, your reports have been quite interesting. The Coalition is very curious about your experiences here. I hope they're positive experiences, Hana said. We shall see. The welcome ceremony was held in the main conference hall. Doyun sat at the head of the table. Hana and Kavi on either side. The cubs lined the walls, watching intently. Halfway through Kavi's official welcome speech, Doyun sneezed. The reaction was instantaneous and overwhelming. Rin vaulted over a table, producing a thermal blanket from somewhere. Nira was already running toward the supply closets. Other cubs poured into the room from corridors, each carrying comfort items. Within 90 seconds, Doyun was completely buried under blankets, while medical scanners beeped and cubs made worried noises around him. What is happening? Doyun's voice came from somewhere deep in the blanket pile. Why am I covered in blankets? Hana fought very hard not to laugh. She failed. Kavi stood and began organizing the cubs, removing some of the blankets. When Doyun's face finally emerged, he looked utterly baffled. This is the blanket protocol, Hana explained, still trying to control her laughter. When a human sneezes, the cubs bring blankets. It's their way of showing care. This is highly irregular, Doyun said. This is family, Kavi corrected. The cubs have learned to care for humans. They respond to perceived distress with comfort. Talus stepped forward with a medical scanner. Ambassador, I need to ensure you are not experiencing respiratory distress. I'm fine. It was just a sneeze from the dry air. That is what Hana always says, Nira said seriously. But we must verify. Doyun submitted to the medical scan with visible confusion. When Talus declared him healthy, the cubs reluctantly removed most of the blankets. Most. But not all. Rin insisted Doyun keep at least 2 for comfort. After the ceremony, Hana gave Doyun a tour of the station. He asked many questions, taking notes on his datapad. The cubs seem very attached to you, he observed. We've built a good relationship. I've been teaching them about human culture and communication. 7. I see. Doyun stopped walking and turned to face her. Dr. Hana, I need to be direct with you. The Coalition sent me here because your reports have raised concerns. What kind of concerns? Your reports indicate that the galactic database on humans is significantly inaccurate. You've claimed humans are more durable, more adaptable, and more capable than previously documented. Because we are. The database was based on diplomatic preferences, not actual human limitations. If this is true, it changes Earth's classification in the Galactic Coalition. We were accepted as a member species under the assumption that humans are relatively fragile, non-threatening. If we are reclassified as a predator species or a competitive species, it could affect trade agreements, territorial rights, military obligations. Hana felt her stomach sink. I didn't think about political implications. I was just trying to correct misinformation. Misinformation that has been diplomatically useful, Doyun said. Being underestimated has advantages. It also means being treated like glass. Being excluded from opportunities. Because people think we're too weak. Perhaps, but it also means being welcomed into spaces where predator species might have been denied access. Doyun resumed walking. I need to observe your interactions with the station's inhabitants. I need to assess whether your reports are accurate and whether correcting the database is in Earth's best interests. Over the next 2 days, Doyun watched everything. He attended Hana's training sessions with the cubs. He observed her working in the laboratories. He ate meals in the cafeteria and took notes on how the station's inhabitants interacted with her. Hana showed him the gym, where she now exercised regularly with a group of cubs who had adopted her routine. She demonstrated human endurance, human strength, human flexibility. Doyun seemed impressed, but troubled. On the 3rd day, the coalition observers arrived for an official evaluation. They were a mixed group representing different species and factions. They settled into the conference room with the air of people who had made up their minds before arriving. We have reviewed the preliminary reports, the lead observer said. She was a tall, elegant being from a species Hana did not recognize. We would like to see demonstrations of human capabilities, as described in Dr. Hana's documentation. Hana and Doyun had prepared for this. They had organized a series of demonstrations showing human abilities that contradicted the database. Hana ran on a treadmill for an hour straight, demonstrating persistence, hunting, adaptation. The observers watched with growing surprise. Doyun performed fine motor control tasks, threading needles and assembling tiny components, showing human dexterity. They demonstrated temperature adaptation, moving between heated and cooled environments without distress. Talus presented medical data showing human healing rates, immune system function, and structural resilience. The observers conferred among themselves in low voices. These capabilities suggest humans have been misclassified, one of them said. You are clearly not a fragile species. We're adaptable, Hana said. Not fragile, but not aggressive either. We're cooperative. We build relationships across species lines. Predator species also build relationships, another observer noted. Often hierarchical ones based on dominance. That's not what's happening here, Kavi interjected. He had been sitting quietly until now. Hana has not dominated anyone. She has taught and learned in equal measure. The cubs follow her because they choose to, not because she has forced them. Can you prove this? Kavi looked at Rin. Rin stood, nervous, but determined. Hana came to our station, and we thought she was weak. We thought we needed to protect her from everything. But she showed us we were wrong. She is not weak. She is strong in ways we did not understand. Nira stepped forward too. She taught us about human culture, about communication and cooperation. She learned about our cultures too. She treated us like equals, like family, not like subordinates. Other cubs began speaking, each sharing their experiences. How Hana had changed their understanding of humans. How she had given them purpose and connection. How the blanket protocol had started as protection but had become something else. A ritual of care, of family, of belonging. The observers listened to all of this. Then they asked Hana and Doyun to leave the room while they deliberated. Hana and Doyun waited in the corridor outside. The cubs gathered around them, anxious and protective. What if they decide Earth is a threat? Nira asked quietly. They won't, Hana said, hoping she was right. What if they make you leave the station? Then I'll fight that decision. But I don't think it will come to that. Do-yoon was less optimistic. He paced the corridor, checking his datapad repeatedly. The deliberations took 3 hours. Finally, they were called back into the conference room. The lead observer stood. "We have reviewed the evidence and testimony. We have reached a decision." Hana held her breath. "Humans will be reclassified as an adaptive species. This is a new classification we are creating specifically for species that demonstrate high adaptability, cooperative tendencies, and cross-species integration capabilities. You are neither predator nor prey. You are something unique." Relief washed over Hana. This classification comes with full coalition membership rights, including trade, territorial, and exploration privileges. However, it also comes with responsibilities. Earth will be expected to provide cultural liaison officers to other stations to facilitate interspecies cooperation. "We accept these terms," Do-yoon said formally. "There is one more matter." The observer looked at Hana. "Dr. Hana, your work here has been valuable. We would like to establish a formal program based on your model, Human-Predator Relations Training, to be implemented across coalition stations." Hana blinked in surprise. "You want to expand this program?" "Yes. You will be given authority to train other humans who will be stationed with predator species. Your curriculum will become standard protocol." "Known. Opcom ad opcadet." "Known. I accept," Hana said without hesitation. The observers stood to leave. As they filed out, one of them paused. "For what it's worth, Dr. Hana, what you have built here is remarkable. You have created genuine bonds across species that many thought impossible. The galaxy needs more of this." After they left, the cubs erupted in celebration. They surrounded Hana and Do-yoon, chattering excitedly in multiple languages. Do-yoon looked overwhelmed. "I did not expect this outcome." "Neither did I," Hana admitted. That evening, there was a celebration feast in the cafeteria. Cubs from all over the station attended. Even Kavi, normally reserved, seemed relaxed and pleased. Midway through the meal, Do-yoon sneezed again. This time, 47 cubs responded. Blankets appeared from everywhere. Within seconds, Do-yoon was buried again. Hana did not even try to help him. She just laughed. "This is my life now?" Do-yoon's muffled voice came from the blanket pile. "Yes," Hana called back. "Welcome to the family." 6 months later, Hana sat in her office on Twilight Nexus, reviewing applications from humans who wanted to join the interspecies program. The program had grown far beyond what she had imagined. Humans were being stationed on predator ships, on coalition outposts, on diplomatic vessels. Rin was now her official assistant, helping coordinate the training programs. Nira had designed specialized equipment for multi-species cooperation, including communication devices and environmental adapters. The blanket protocol had spread to other stations. It had become a recognized custom, mentioned in coalition cultural guides. When any species sneezed in the presence of station cubs, they received 1 blanket and a warm beverage. It was inefficient and unnecessary, and absolutely vital. Hana still sneezed regularly. The station's air was still dry, and every single time, blankets appeared. She had stopped trying to enforce the 2-blanket maximum. The cubs had agreed in principle, but ignored it in practice. She now owned approximately 300 blankets in various sizes and materials. She sneezed while reviewing applications. Rin appeared in her doorway within 10 seconds, blanket in hand. "Respiratory event detected," he said with perfect seriousness. "It's just a sneeze, Rin. There is no such thing as just a sneeze." He draped the blanket over her shoulders. "Proper protocol must be maintained." Hana pulled the blanket closer. It was soft, warm, and smelled like home. "Thank you, Rin. Always." She returned to her work, wrapped in her blanket, surrounded by the gentle sounds of the station. This was her life now. Teaching humans to work with predators. Teaching predators to understand humans. building bridges across species that had never been built before, and getting buried in blankets whenever she sneezed. It was a good life. Her datapad chimed with a new message. Another human was being assigned to the station next month. A young researcher named Jiwoo, who specialized in xenobotany. Hana smiled and began preparing the welcome protocols. She would need to warn Jiwoo about the blanket protocol. She would need to explain about the cubs and their fierce protectiveness and their absolute certainty that humans needed constant care. She would need to introduce Jiwoo to Rin and Nira and all the others who had become her family. And when Jiwoo inevitably sneezed for the first time, Hana would laugh as the blankets appeared, as emergency protocols activated, as 47 cubs mobilized to comfort someone they had just met. Because that was what family did. They cared, even when it was excessive. They protected, even when it wasn't needed. They brought blankets every single time. And somehow, that made everything better.